Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. Just the three of us again, but we're still bringing you all the football, and that's all that really matters. We've got games from last week, games from this week, transfer news. It's all here. What more could you want? Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share the podcast around. That's the big one. Share the podcast around. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, football podcast.
Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on in to your weekly fix of football nonsense, brought to you by your wonderful co-hosts here at the Podcast Podcast Network. Now, obviously, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you'll see just the three happy, smiling, knowledgeable faces in front of you. Again, sadly, Mr. Moore unable to join us. He's, I believe, at this point, this is where in the WWE they would say he's on assignment. So we'll go with that. We'll say that he's on assignment for yet another week.
He's releasing an album.
Album, book, generic tour, I believe. All of the above would count.
Movie.
So yes, sadly, Mr. Moore not able to join us this evening, but he will. I am sure he will be back not before too long. So we'll hopefully see his wonderful face back on the podcast sooner rather than later. So it's just up to myself, Mr. Cook, and Mr. Woodmansey to bring you the updates this week from Hull, Borough, and Nottingham Forest, even though the Nottingham Forest correspondent is not here. But how are you two gents this week, anyway?
Yeah, footballing wise.
Yeah, we'll get on to the footballing thing, but let's just keep it non-footballing for now. Andrew, how are you, sir?
I'm in a lot of pain at this moment in time. I was hoping it was going to pass, but my lower half, it's basically done. So I have put a replacement order in, and they've assured me my new legs will be here in 3 to 5 weeks.
Excellent. So Andy has the physical pain. Myself and Stu have the mental pain of having to support the teams that we do support. But we won't start on a negative. We'll actually start on a supreme positive, which is odd for this podcast. As our first game of the week was Nottingham Forest versus Brighton and Hove Albion, and this was the early kickoff on Saturday, no less. Now, I got ahead of myself this week, and because I knew that Mr. Moore wasn't going to be here, I actually sat down and watched this game and made notes on the goals.
Ooh.
And what a horrendous week to have picked to have done that. As Nottingham Forest won this game 7-0. No, I didn't mispronounce that, ladies and gentlemen. That is correct. That is brackets SEVEN, close brackets. For anyone who knows, you know. Forest, after a week after conceding 5 against Bournemouth, they turned Brighton over by almost the same and slightly worse. So, let's go through the goals one by one. First, a Lewis Dunk own goal on the 12th minute. The ball out to the right-hand side for Morgan Gibbs-White to sort of run onto. He flashed the ball across the 6-yard box. One of those ones where defenders kind of hate having to get something on it because they can't just let it go. Dunk got on it, got his foot to it, but was only successful in turning it past his goalkeeper. I believe on the Match of the Day stats they said that was his 8th own goal of his career. And that only Richard Dunn is higher than him in terms of Premier League own goals. So mightily impressive from Mr. Dunk. I believe that must mean that he's averaging like 1 a season since he's been in the Premier League, which is mightily impressive. The second goal came on the 25th minute, and it was the man who was the provider turned goal scorer Morgan Gibbs-White on the 25th minute. The corner was taken from the left by Anthony Elanga. Gibbs-White had made a lovely run towards the near post, sort of peeled off from around the back, and got a little glancing header past the keeper. Keeper had no chance. It was 3 on the 32nd minute. Chris Wood helping himself to his first of the afternoon. That man again, ball in from Elanga on the right-hand side. He picked out Wood, who'd peeled off to the back post. He planted his header firmly down into the ground where the keeper doesn't want it bounced up into the goal. 3-0 at half-time, and at that point Brighton were obviously just thinking damage limitation, let's keep it at 3, let's see if we can maybe nick one back and try and get back into the game. Didn't happen. On the 64th minute, Wood got his second of the afternoon, a driving run from Elanga through the middle of the park. Saw that Wood had again managed to sort of peel off round the back of the last defender, played the square ball across the face where Wood was there about 4 yards out to tap in, couldn't really miss. And the hat-trick was complete on the 69th minute. Well, a penalty from Mr. Wood. Wood in the 69th minute, who would have known?
Scores as well.
Well, yeah. It was a corner from the right-hand side. Gibbs-White went to get the ball, but was unceremoniously wrestled to the ground by Tariq Lamptey. One of those ones where you probably see it happen 10 or so times a game. Referee never gives it, but this time he was looking at the right area of the pitch and decided to give the penalty. I think VAR would have obviously checked it and decided there was no egregious error made, so the penalty stood. Obviously, having had already scored twice, Wood picked the ball up, stuck it down on the spot, gave the keeper the eyes, rolled the ball the other way to make it 5-0 to Forest and complete his hat trick. Brighton at that point probably thought, well, at least we've managed to keep it to 5. 89th minute, Nico Williams makes it 6. Initial effort from Awonyi was palmed away by the goalkeeper. The rebound fell into the path of Sangare. Now, he kind of fell onto the ball, and it almost looks as if he fell onto it and controlled it with his hand. But the only reason I can think that it's not been given is that the ref maybe thought there was a push in the back as to what's made him fall over. Obviously, the loose ball squirms into the path of Williams and just rifles it home from about, I think they say, like 8 yards out or so. And the route was complete on the 90+1 minute when Jota Silva, or Wish Jack Grealish, as I believe he's known in the business, got his goal. Keeper had a bit of a nightmare. Obviously, the ball was at his feet, went to play the ball, clipped over the top to the left back. Yes, Stu?
Surely, by the way that the season's panning out, Jack Grealish will be known as
Wish Jota Silva.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll change it up. We'll now go with that. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, the keeper's had a bit of a nightmare. He's got to clip the ball over to the left back. He's gone obviously think to clip it, and he just completely got he's taken the wrong club out of the bag, lads. He's gone for the sand wedge shot, but he got the driver out, and he's just duffed it straight to the feet of Silva. He carried the ball into the box. Obviously, just sat the keeper down. He just slotted the ball straight on the keeper in the back of the net. 7-0. Quite the rout. The Brighton manager also managed to get himself yellow carded in the process of that game, as Danny Welbeck had the temerity to headbutt with the back of his head one of the Forest defenders, and when Brighton weren't given a penalty for that, strangely enough, he wouldn't shut up about it, so was rightly given a yellow card. So yeah, 7-0 to Nottingham Forest. Absolutely insane. No, that's not true. Andrew had a Nottingham Forest win. 7 goals. So not 7 goal scorers, but 7 goals. Let's see how many of us got points for the goal scorers, shall we? Andrew, 2-0. Elanga did get 3 assists, but no goals. And Wood. So Andy does get 2 points. Stuart gone for a 1-1 draw with Wood and Mitoma to score, so just a 1 point there. Matt had gone for a 2-2
Mitoma
draw.
got taken off at half time as well, so he did a lot of good, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, his head was probably a little bit rocked from the fact that a team in Saudi Arabia were trying to buy him for about 800 million quid, and Brighton kept turning it down. So 1-1 Wood and Mitoma, 1 point for Stu. Matt had gone 2-2 with Wood and Elanga, Welbeck and Joao Pedro. So just a 1 point for Matt. I had also gone 2-2, but I went for Wood and Gibbs White, Welbeck and Mitoma. So I bagged myself 2 points from that one. Sadly, that's where the good feeling ended on Saturday as we moved to the 3 o'clock slate of games, and Hull City were taking on Stoke City. Now, I could already tell from the messages that were put into the group chat you weren't especially pleased with the standard of refereeing performance that was taking place at the MKM Stadium. But how about the actual goings on the field from a playing perspective?
Well, just to be clear, Hull didn't ultimately lose the game because of the referee. The referee just didn't help matters, shall we say. So Hull have won something in defeat. We've now, the worst home record in the Championship. So we've had 2 wins all season. Can anybody remember who they were against?
Did you beat Blackburn away from home?
Yep. So the 2 home wins were against Cardiff in the game that they had penned as the centenary celebration, and just before Christmas, Swansea. So now we just need every team in the league to have a registered head office in the country of Wales, and we might be all right.
You're hoping that Wrexham continue their good form and get promoted, and that somehow Newport County jump up 2 divisions.
We might pass them on the way down yet. We don't know, do we?
Nah.
So, having said that, Hull did dominate the opening 30 to 40 minutes, really, and made good use of it very early doors, and actually opened the scoring on 6 minutes. Brand new signing, making his full home debut, Elliot Matazo, took a corner short. It was played to the back post by Kamara. McLaughlin headed it across the 6-yard box, where Matazo had got his skates on, having taken the corner, managed to get himself in position, smashed it in from a tight angle. So 1-0 after 6 minutes. Everything looking good, coming off the back of that 3-0 win as well away at Sheffield United. Could have scored a second on 20 minutes, but it was wasted. Matazo again. Hull did have another couple of chances, but came to nothing. And then on 43 minutes, having missed that slew, Stuart sent in a back post cross. Absolutely routine clearance for Cody Dramé. Nope. Got it stuck under his left boot. And Al Hamadi belted it across the goal and in. It kind of, as it got stuck under his feet, it bounced up enough to just give Al Hamadi a perfect half volley. Not great. Made himself look like a bit of a donut just before half time. 1-1 at the break. After the break, Pedro, Matazo, and McLaughlin all missed chances very early doors in the second half. And a triple substitution by Ruben Sayers really probably took the wind out of Hull's sails rather than helping. Kamara was one of the 3 to trudge off, who was stood in an attacking position at the time in the opponent's penalty area and had to be told that his number was on the sign, and he did not look very happy about it. Which, if you're playing well, fair enough, but we know from previous podcasts how I feel about this gentleman on occasion, so off you go, sunshine. Anyway, on 74 minutes, Stoke scored what actually turned out to be the winner when a Kumas shot was controlled by his own teammate, Moran, who then scored. It was one of them kind of unfortunate. The shot was probably going the best part of nowhere, happened to touch the inside of his own man's boot, and it just left it in the right position. But to their credit, they were pushing at the time, so not great defensively from Hull. 2 mistakes, 2 goals, and we did have more chances after to try and equalise, and you'll all be shocked and indeed appalled to hear that it was another home game, another home defeat, and another open goal pretty much missed by Regan Slater. So that's my patience is wearing thin with him now. He works hard, he does all the right stuff, but if your end product's off, just give the kid a break, get his head back in the game, because this isn't the Slater that we've had for the last 2 to 3 seasons. Certainly, last season particularly, he was rifling him in the top corner for fun at patches when we needed him. This season, he's rifling him in, but it's just the stand really is the target at the moment. So yeah, unfortunately, didn't go to plan. Matazo for Hull, Al Hamadi and Moran for Stoke.
Not good. And it's also not good from a podcast prediction perspective. Andy was the least optimistic and had gone for a 1-1 draw. Crooks and Gibson to score. No points. I'd gone for a 2-0 Hull win. Joseph and Crooks. No points. Stuart gone for a 2-1 Hull win. Gelhardt and Joseph with Gooch.
Yeah. That's another one. Let's go 2 for 2 on the predictions this week, because Matoma was taken off at half time. Gooch didn't even last till half time as he was taken off injured.
Lovely stuff. Matt had also gone for a 2-1 win. Joao Pedro and Gelhardt for Hull does redeem himself slightly with an Al Hamadi prediction for goals, which I still think is impressive, as at the time that I read out that prediction, I didn't even know he'd signed for Stoke, so majorly impressive. So yeah, Matt is the only person getting a point on that one. Just the 1 point for Al Hamadi goal scorer prediction. So as we get to the with one game to go, myself on 2 points, Andy on 2 points, Matt on 2 points, Stu just for 1 point so far. Now, final game of the week saw my lot, Middlesbrough, take on the red and white barcoded lot from slightly further up the road in Sunderland. What I didn't realise going into this was Sunderland's very, very poor record on Teesside. They hadn't won in the league at the Riverside since, I believe, 2006 was the last time they'd won in the league against the Borough. Granted, there's been a lot of seasons in that particular intervening time where they haven't been in the same division. And it was the first. Spoiler alert! They won. Shock alert. It was also the first time that they'd won in the Championship or the second tier since 1960 something. So not a happy bunny, which is crazy when you consider that Borough started this game like a bit of a train and found themselves 1-0 up after 11 minutes. Combination of Hayden Hackney and Marcus Fors won the ball back from Patrick Roberts deep in the Borough half. Maybe a slight argument that a foul could have been given in Sunderland's favour. Hackney seemed to have a little bit of a nibble at Patrick Roberts. And I don't think Fors got any of the ball when he made the challenge. So they were a little bit lucky with that one. But Hayden Hackney carried the ball off, spotted that Delano Bergzorg was making a run and played an absolutely fantastic ball. Sort of one of those ones that dissects the defenders for Bergzorg to run onto. Took a couple of touches, didn't round the goalkeeper, but just took it to the side of the goalkeeper, slotted it past him to make it 1-0. And as seems to be the case with Borough games these days, they went 1-0 up and then stopped playing football. Not entirely sure why. Get the goal, almost like how England used to play under Gareth Southgate. Very similar. Just get the goal to go 1-0 up and then just sit back on it. Very, very worrying. Sunderland capitalised on this. Had a couple of chances themselves, and on the 33rd minute they managed to bring themselves level. They had an attack down the right-hand side that was eventually cleared to the edge of the box, where Bergzorg could quite simply have just passed the ball off, or just hoofed it upfield, just cleared his lines, given the team a chance to reset. But no, for some bizarre reason, he tried to do some sort of drag back or something like that, and had his pocket pinched by Dan Neal. He then took aim, set himself, and his effort deflected in off George Edmondson. It has gone down as a Neil goal. From watching it back, I'm pretty sure Mark Travers is straight behind the effort, and if it doesn't take the deflection, it's a comfortable save for the goalkeeper. So I would personally have that down as an own goal, but it is going down as a Dan Neil goal. So we went in 1-1 at half time, and 6 minutes into the second half, it got worse for the Borough as they found themselves 2-1 down. George Edmondson was trying to play the offside trap again. It did not work as Isidore was set free to gallivant through, stick the keeper down on his arse and roll the ball in to make it 2-1. Borough did manage to wrestle a bit of possession and momentum back on the 59th minute when, again, very similar to the Neil goal for Sunderland, they had the ball on the edge of their box and were almost pissing about with it, trying to get rid of it. Aidan Morris went in and pinched the ball back off the Sunderland player, spotted that Hayden Hackney was to his left, squared the ball off to him. He took a touch again and then just rifled the ball straight past the keeper to make it 2-2. And then it was a bit of a back and forth, really. It was mainly Sunderland that had the best of the chances. Borough possibly could have scored, but weren't able to carve out any real sort of clear-cut efforts. And they were made to pay in the 87th minute when a kind of a hopeful sort of punted ball over the top for Enzo Lefebvre, who was playing down the left-hand side and was making Luke Ayling look every bit the washed-up footballer he has clearly become in the last 18 months. Definitely had his number, shall we say. Outpaced him, managed to get the ball to the left-hand side and drilled it across, where it almost seemed to go into slow motion, where the ball cannoned off Ryan Giles into the back of the net for a very unfortunate own goal for Mr. Giles' first start back at the Riverside. He definitely had his head in his hands, wasn't very happy. But yes, sadly, he was on the wrong end of a goal to make it 3-2 to Sunderland and take all 3 points back to Wearside. Very disappointing, to say the least. Podcast predictions-wise, Andy was the most optimistic and had gone for a 2-1 Borough win. Whittaker, Doak, Mayenda. No goal scorers there. Sadly, Doak was injured in training and will be missing for the next 2 to 3 weeks, apparently. Not ideal.
And that's a quickly change of prediction.
Oh yeah, sorry, I probably should have said that.
Absolutely no reason to change that prediction. But
that's a minimum as well. He could be out for longer. They may have done something about that in the transfer window. We'll come to that next. Next up to me, so the rest of us all had draws. Stuart on 1-1. Azaz and Bellingham as his goal scorers, so no points there. Matt had gone 3-3 with Azaz, Doak, Whittaker, Lefebvre, Hjelde and Isidore. So does get himself a bonus point for the Isidore goal. I went 1-1, Bergzorg and Isidore. So I managed to bag myself 2 bonus points there. So I get 2 points, Matt gets 1 point. Which means Stu ends the point with 1 point from 3 games. Andy ends the week with 2 points from 3 games. Matt, 3 points from 3 games. And I take the win with 4 points from the available 3 games. Very nice that we had a 1, 2, 3, 4 in the scoring. Always nice when it matches up like that. But then again, I would prefer that I didn't get the bonus points and that Isidore didn't score. Would have been preferable if he did been given a penalty or something like that, because we know how he likes to. We know what he likes to do with penalties. That's the way it goes. So yes, that is week 23 done and dusted. The transfer window slammed shut near hours. Well, pretty much an hour after the Middlesbrough Sunderland game finished. And Middlesbrough were a little bit busy on that day, bringing in 2 new signings. So We're going to take a small break, and then when we come back from the break, we will do the transfer window roundup for all three of our teams. Obviously, Mr. Murray's in here, so I will cover the Forest ins and outs, as well as the Borough ones. Stu will take care of the Hull ones, and everyone will be much more updated with who can score and who can't. So, don't touch that dial. We will be right back. And just like that, the break is over. Over. Seamless. So, like we said, transfer window slammed shut, or was pushed to ajar somewhat. We'll go through Forest's ins and outs as, ironically, probably the one that will take the least amount of time. Matt had already covered. They had re-signed goalkeeper Wayne Hennessy after he was released at the end of last season. Surprising that no one picked him up. It's not really. He's old and not very good. So he will come in as the backup to the backup, possibly even backup to that backup. One signing they did make was a new defender, young player called Tyler Binden from Reading. Signed and then immediately sent back on loan. So didn't even have to leave the city. Interesting. For Nottingham Forest, that is it. That was it. That was literally all of their transfer business. So probably for the first time since they've been promoted back to the Premier League, haven't really improved the first team squad in a transfer window, which seems odd. Plenty of outgoings though. Aaron Donnelly has moved to Dundee for apparently £252,000. Couldn't tell you anything about him. Don't even know where he plays. Andrew Omobamidele. Well, yeah, apart from Dundee, yeah. Andrew Omobamidele, centre back, has moved on loan to Strasbourg for the rest of the season. Esepa Osong has moved to Cambridge on loan. Joe Gardner has moved to Lincoln, again on loan. This one I just do not understand. Josh Bowler has gone to Luton on loan. Josh Bowler will never play for Nottingham Forest. Why? What is the point in keeping on sending him out on loan? Just sell him. You're clearly never going to play him. So, Ben Perry has joined Northampton on loan. Lewis O'Brien has been recalled from his loan in the United States and has gone back out on loan to Swansea. Another one which is a bit of a baffling one for me. Emmanuel Dennis has gone to Blackburn on a season-long loan. Honestly, didn't even realise he was still at the club. I'm pretty sure if he was here right now, Mr. Moore would probably class him as the latest Harry Arter, just a guy who's at the club just draining resources and stuff like that. And finally, a permanent exit. Finley Back has joined Wickham for an undisclosed fee. Apologies that I can't go into any more depth on those ones, as I don't really know the ins and outs of the Nottingham Forest under-21 squad. Obviously, Mr. Moore would be able to do a much better job if he was here. Let's go to Stu to give us the Hull updates.
Yeah, a little bit more business going on at Hull. Having just had a little quick top-up as Mr. Williams was divulging into the Forest goings on. We've actually perfectly balanced it. We've had 8 in and 8 out, which I hadn't realised until a couple of moments ago. So, your 8 out. Ryan Longman, as we discussed previously, just a shade over 500,000 to Wrexham. Will Jarvis, if that's a name that you remember from back early doors in this season, there was a bit of a hoo-ha about he was on loan at the Irish team that we've got a link with. They weren't happy that we'd recalled him. He played pre-season. and I think came on as a sub in the first 2 or 3 games, never to be seen again. Has now gone out on a permanent deal to Notts County, undisclosed fee. Ryan Giles, obviously, as we know from Paul just earlier, setting Borough on fire. Oh no, wait a minute. It was a hell of a finish, by the way. But yeah, he's gone back to Middlesbrough on loan. Marvin Malem, one of the German contingent brought in by the former manager Tim Walter, has gone back to Germany on loan to SC Paderborn. Another one of Walter's signings, Rachopi, the goalkeeper, has gone on loan to FC Cologne or Köln. Xavi Simons played a big part in midfield for the team so far this season. Not so much since the new manager Ruben Sayers came in. Has decided that he's going to go out and get some game time and has joined the Forest player that's gone to Wickham. However, Simons is on loan, not on a permanent one. Another loan one, Andy Smith, defender, has gone on loan to Gillingham. And sad times indeed. Yuri Selly, undisclosed fee, has gone to Universitario de Deportes, where you'll never have heard his name before. You might never have heard of that club before. But we signed him about 2 years ago and loaned him straight to that club. And I don't think has ever been within 5,000 miles of the city of Hull. But yeah, officially, he is an out. It's caused a lot of entertainment in the last few days since the transfer window closed. Every time the club posted about it, which was just twice, the comments on this have been fantastic. Obviously, ranging from who to, oh no, can't believe it, club legend, retire his number. He never had a squad number. He didn't even come that close. So there's been some quality stuff on that this week, which I've enjoyed very much. But yes, certainly players like Longman, Simons will be missed more than other people. Malem, for example, on that list. So good luck to them, and hopefully we'll get. I'd like to see Simons back, to be honest. I quite like him. Anyway, more importantly, the players that are going to take us through from now to the end of the season and possibly beyond in some cases. Elliot Matazo, we mentioned earlier, scored against Stoke, signed on a permanent deal, 2 million from Monaco. Norden Amrabat, covered as well earlier on in the podcast proceedings, was signed on a free transfer till the end of the season from AEK Athens. Matt Crooks, we know all about Matt Crooks from the years of featuring on the podcast in a Borough shirt. Kyle Joseph, young lad from Blackpool, playing up front. Lincoln Henrique on loan from Fenerbahce. Joe Geldhart on loan from Leeds. And the two that cropped up, I think both of these cropped up after we recorded last week. Louis Barry signed a brand new contract with Aston Villa and then immediately we got loaned to Hull. Spent the first half of the season on loan at Stockport, has been ripping goals from anywhere on the pitch. He seems to touch the ball. It came on as a substitute actually in the Stoke game at the weekend and did look pretty lively, so that's positive. And then trying to shore up the defence a little bit. Experienced, I believe, is the word that we use when players have been around a bit. John Egan, centre half from Burnley on an 18-month contract. Quite happy with that one because he's not a bad player. Sean McLaughlin, whilst he got player of the match against Sheffield United, is for me a little bit out of his depth at this point. He can't. It's not that he can't cut it. I think it's that he probably can't cope with the certainly the schedule as it's been of late. And it's nice to have a bit of a rotation. So a bit of competition in there. I think Egan will get in there. He has started to play Finn Burns as well, who we've had on loan from Man City. We got him at the beginning of the season, but Finn Burns has picked up an injury in the last couple of weeks as well, so it made sense to bring in another centre half. And I don't really feel like since we got rid of Greaves at summer, there's been a settled pairing in the middle. It's been a bit sort of hit and miss every time, and I'd like to think that an experienced head next to Alfie Jones, who's obviously well established at the club, will probably help out a lot. I went to an evening with the manager event earlier this week, which we'll talk a little bit about. But even though he's got a very attacking philosophy, one of the things that he talked about was having the back four as the linchpin to the entire team. So defense is obviously an important aspect of the way that he coaches. And I'm guessing that so many changes across the back line over the season haven't exactly been his favourite thing, shall we say. Obviously, he's only had the team for the last 2 months, but everything points towards that he wants to get a bit more of a settled lineup going forward, and hopefully that might provide some answers. So yeah, a little bit to it. 8 in, 8 out. I'll let Paul hit you with the Middlesbrough dealings.
Very nice indeed. Yes, so Borough. We covered most of these, but obviously we'll just go back over all of the people that have left and all the people that have come in. So in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 have left the club in either permanent or temporary basis. The permanents, Isaiah Jones went to Luton, but what was reportedly an undisclosed figure, but I think people were bandying around about £5 million as a rough idea of the overall fee. Matt Clark went to Derby, again for undisclosed, but there's been, I think the figures that have been on the internet about 500,000. Strange one in that apparently that is literally a deal till the end of the season. Not one you see all that often. People teams paying a fee for a player and then only signing them for a 6-month deal. Strange, that one. Young striker from the academy, AJ Matthews, has gone to Millwall, again for an undisclosed fee. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a sell-on clause in that, and they've just accepted a smaller figure. Up front, never really got a chance in the first team. I think he played a handful of games. Once towards the end of last season, potentially, and he was in the cup squad for the game at Leeds earlier this season. I thought he was quite highly thought of in the academy, but obviously I'm assuming he wanted to move, and he's been sold. The next are all loans. I'll leave one permanent till the end because it's quite a biggie. And then the the people who've gone on loan. Micah Hamilton has gone to Stockport until the end of the season. Sam Silvera was recalled from his loan at Portsmouth and was sent to Blackpool. Zach Hemming came back from his loan at Leyton Orient and was sent on loan to St Mirren. George Gitau has gone to Wraith Rovers. And then on deadline day, attacking midfielder / forward Alex Gilbert went to Charlton on loan until the end of the season. The only other out was kind of a biggie because one, he's the top scorer, Emmanuel Latte Lath. It's a biggie because it is a record fee received by Middlesbrough. So it's the highest fee we've ever received for a player. It's also the highest fee paid by any team in the MLS, which I thought was kind of interesting. So apparently the reported fee, when all told, is apparently £22.5 million. So a fairly decent chunk of change for a guy who has had periods of injury whilst he's been at the Borough for 18 months. But his goal record is pretty much 1 in 2. So I suppose in an ideal situation, Borough wouldn't have wanted to sell. But when a team comes knocking with record money for the club, kind of hard to turn it down. I think there was something that had come out towards the end of last year when Borough published their accounts for 2024. And as seems to have been the case for the last 15 years or so, Steve Gibson had been operating the club at a major loss. He was putting in millions and millions of pounds per year to keep the club propped up. He was transferring the loans that he was making in the club into shares, apparently, so that they didn't have to be repaid. I don't know if that's dodgy or not. I can only presume it's not. I can only presume that's well above board and allowed to be done. But yeah, whenever they can get in the kind of money that we're talking here, it stabilises the club for at least another year or so, and means that he doesn't have to dip into his pocket as often as he was. So that's the outs. From an ins perspective, there were two new additions on the deadline day. So the permanents, Morgan Whittaker has joined from Plymouth. We covered that one last week. To all intents and purposes, looks like, again, it's another undisclosed one, but it looks like it's £5 million up front, with the potential for add-ons that could take it up towards about 8 million, I think. George Edmondson has joined from Ipswich. Obviously, he was on loan at the club earlier in the season. That's been terminated, now turned into a permanent deal. Again, undisclosed. The rest are all loans. Obviously, Giles is coming from Hull till the end of the season. Goalkeeper Mark Travers from Bournemouth till the end of the season. The two ones that were done on deadline day, winger Samuel Illing Jr. Had his loan at Bologna terminated and has now been sent back on loan from Aston Villa to the Borough until the end of the season. And replacing Mr. Latte Lath is ex-Leicester and Man City striker Kelechi Iheanacho, who's joined the club on loan from Sevilla until the end of the season. And I'd say quite a coup, but when he was in the division last season with Leicester, he didn't exactly tear the division to pieces. So I don't know if that's because he wasn't getting a lot of game time at Leicester, but I'd like to think there's a decent enough player in there. He's got caps for Nigeria. He scored goals in the Premier League for both Leicester and Man City. Hasn't really happened for him at Sevilla, but let's see. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and let's see if a bit of regular game time can get him up and running and scoring again. Two kids that were signed on permanent deals that will go straight into the under-21s development team. A young midfielder called Braden Johnson has signed from Eastbourne Borough. I think this kid seemed to not exactly go viral as such, but there was a lot of it on social media about the fact that he's kind of burst onto the scene this season at Eastbourne Borough, and has obviously done well enough where he's on the radar of another borough. They've obviously taken the chance to sign him up. So like I say, he'll go straight into the developmental squad, and we'll see what they've got there. They also signed Josh Deed, a versatile fullback from the Celtic Academy. Again, undisclosed fee. We'll go straight into the under-21s. Let's hope he can play it right back, because the less I see of Luke Ayling in the Middlesbrough team, the better.
He's coming round.
I was blinded by his stellar form in the second half of last season. But as I said to everybody else, he obviously performed well to get a contract, and now he's showing his true colours, the big shit house.
It's all right though, because it's not like you've just signed a left back that'll do exactly the fucking same. So
well, he's young though, so there's time for him to not be shit yet. That's it from a transfers perspective. There was something that came out in the news, as it were, early today, and that's right back Tommy Smith has had to announce it. He's had to retire from the game. Signed on a free transfer from Stoke back at the start of the 2022-23 season. Came in as cover for the right back slot. I think initially it was Isaiah Jones was playing as the right wing back in the start of that season. He was signed under Chris Wilder as the backup. He played 47 times for Borough in the time that he was with the club, but he actually suffered an Achilles rupture in October of 2023, and after extensive rehab, he's got to the point where he's consulted with a lot of specialists, and it's just been agreed that he's probably never going to get back to the point where he's able to sort of re-establish himself at the same level that he was at before. So I'm assuming he's taken doctors or medical advice that he should probably stop playing. So 353 games over the course of his career. Apparently he'll stay at the Borough to complete his rehab, and then I'm assuming they might offer him a job as a coach, something like that on the staff. But we'll see. I'm assuming he will move into something else for the rest of his career. So sad, but obviously his health is the most important thing. And, let's hope he gets over that Achilles rupture and he's able to walk about and stuff as soon as possible. So there we go. That is the transfer roundup done and dusted. So, week 24 brings with it no weekend fixtures for the first time all season when it's not even an international break. The reason being is because it is FA Cup 4th round weekend. Borough and Hull very kindly managed to get themselves unceremoniously dumped out of that competition very early. And Nottingham Forest's game is on Tuesday of next week. What the fuck is that all about? So yeah, no weekend fixtures, but there is midweek fixtures. The first of which is Exeter City versus Nottingham Forest in the 4th round of the FA Cup. Now obviously he's not here, but we will still give Matt's prediction last, as it is his team. I'll go first on this one. I've gone for a nice, solid, straightforward 3-0 Nottingham Forest win. A goal apiece for Awonyi, Dominguez and Sosa. Stu, what have you got now for Exeter versus Forest?
Almost the same. Knock one goal off. I have Forest to win 2-0. I have Awonyi. Until the transfer window closed, I also had Ward-Prowse written down, but seeing as he's now gone back away, then I changed that to Sousa. So effectively, you picked the same, but with one added goal scorer.
Yes. Obviously, something I didn't cover in that I'd completely forgotten was that West Ham, yes, had terminated Ward-Prowse's loan agreement with Forest. Apparently, there was rumours that he was going to go out and be sent back out on loan to somewhere else, but then they realised that he'd already played this season for West Ham and Forest, so can only now play for one of those two teams. So he's going to be welcomed back into the fold at West Ham, it would appear. Andy, what have you got down for Exeter versus Forest?
Forest 2-0 win. I've tried to pick my way through. I've gone for Wood if he's still there.
Oh yes.
And the Langer.
Are you telling me that Wood is still standing, Paul? Isn't it?
Oh dear. Yes.
So just a dodgy camera angle.
Nice. Matt has gone for a 3-1 Nottingham Forest win. He's the only person who's given Exeter a goal. He's gone for McGuinness to score for Exeter, and then he's also gone for Awonyi, Sousa, and Yates. Obviously, there's something we've all seen something in Sousa this week in training. Clearly, that's just has to be there or thereabouts. The next game. So these are all midweek games. The Forest game on Tuesday. The next two are being played on Wednesday next week, which means our podcast next week will be recorded at a very late time. Thanks, scheduling people, you assholes. Burnley versus Hull City, Mr. Woodmansey's team. He will go dead last. Matt's gone for a 1-0 Burnley win. I believe they have not conceded in 7 straight games. Ever since James Trafford, the goalkeeper, tweeted JJ Watt, part owner of Burnley, asking him if he would be tempted to come out of retirement to play for the Cincinnati Bengals in the NFL next season. To which JJ Watt said, "Yeah, consider it a deal. If you don't concede between now and the end of the season, I'll make it happen." He hasn't conceded a goal since that tweet, so JJ Watt is now shitting his pants that he might have to come out of retirement. Yes, Matt has gone for this team, the clean sheet run to continue. He's on for a 1-0 win with Brownhill to score for Burnley. I think the clean sheet run will come to an end, as Hull are one of the only teams who have scored against Burnley this season. I've gone for a 3-1 Burnley win. One for Foster, Anthony, and new signing Edwards to score for Burnley. Joao Pedro to get the goal for Hull. Andy, what have you got down for this one?
I have a weird feeling that JJ Watt has got other priorities on the horizon. I think. I seemed to see something the other day that suggested he may have something a little bit more pressing coming up. However, I've got a 1-0 Hull win because we've got to keep JJ away from the Bengals, and I'm gonna have to keep picking this guy now until he scores. I've gone for Kamara.
Lovely stuff. How do you see it panning out for Mr. Woodmansey?
We'll lose 2-1. I've got Fleming and Anthony for Burnley, and I've got a opening goal for the club for Barry.
Louis Barry. Infamous. And our final game of the week sees Sheffield United taking on my lot, Middlesbrough. Obviously, I will give my prediction last. Let's go to Andy for Sheffield United versus the Borough.
I've got Middlesbrough down to win 2-0. Dr. Bergzorg to get the opener. And I thought I'd make it hard for myself by picking not only a new signing, but somebody who has a very interesting name. Ian Acho.
Ian Nacho, or Ian Nacho, as one of my mates used to call it.
Delicious.
A lovely portion of Ian's Nachos. You.
I have, unfortunately for you, got Sheffield United to win 1-0. And before I mention his name, Paul, you can start writing it down because you know where it's going. Good old Benjamin.
Yes, Ben Brereton Diaz is in the book. Don't worry.
Thank you.
It's not the first time, and it's not the last time his name is written in the book, as Matt has gone for a 2-2 draw with Brereton Diaz and Punky Brewster to score for Sheffield United. Whitaker and Fours to score for the Borough. I am nowhere near as optimistic as Mr. Moore. I've gone for a 2-0 Sheffield United win. I've gone for Punky Brewster, and I've just gone for plain old Ben Brereton to score. No Spanish flair required. No Chilean flair required. Just plain old Ben from Stoke to notch against the Borough to bring us to the end of this week's podcast. Now, this is the point where I'd ask if there was anything else to discuss, but we already know that we're going to go back to Mr. Woodmansey to go through the details of this informal town meeting, I suppose, of sorts, with Mr. Sage.
Well, it's the club have started to do it. They obviously have a bit more of a they're a bit more proactive, maybe I'd say, about engaging with the fan base at the moment, which is nice. A few things have come from it. Obviously, earlier in the season, I went to the evening with the chairman, which I say earlier in the season, before the season started, where we got all the details about the goings on of the firing of Liam Rossini and all that kind of stuff. Oddly enough, when things were going to shit with Tim Walter, we never got a chance to speak to him. But we did get. It was like an email that went round to season ticket holders, and it's like, oh, there's this thing you can apply for it if you want. As it turns out, there was only I think it was 250 to 300 tickets that they gave out for it, so it was quite a small event considering that the average attendance is still over 20,000 this season, which is incredible for a team that are absolutely shit at home. So yeah, an evening with Ruben Sayers and interviewed by Alex Burgess, who used to be one of the main commentators on the local radio for Hull City. So he's been involved with Hull for quite a long time. Got a little bit of a flavour for like him as a person, like the background of where he's come from, all the rest of it. He's 41, which made me think, oh, I've definitely messed up here somewhere. But he's worked in 7 different countries already, and has a lot of experience under his belt. I didn't realise, but he was on the sort of coaching team at Southampton when like Ralph Hartenhussel was there. He's got big connections. He was telling us last night about how one of the main phone numbers that he goes to if he ever needs a little bit of advice is good old Rafa Benitez. So there was even talk of him visiting the training ground for a couple of days just to share some ideas, which I thought was interesting. Also, he's hoping to exploit the link with our chairman and Fenerbahce to at some point get in touch with Jose Mourinho, he was saying. So yeah, it was interesting to hear like his pedigree and like where he's come from and all the rest of it, and what his plans are. He was talking about the transfer window. He's more than happy with the business. Obviously, he has to say that, but that has been done in January. Felt it was interesting that he's worked with our sporting director before, and they were talking about the transfers as in how they identify the targets and then go out and get them, or they identify the targets and then they come to him and say, is it a yes, is it a no? Last season, it very much felt like it was the owner and his little team saying, you're having these players, crack on. So that seems to have been a little bit of a shift, perhaps. So I don't think that's a bad thing. Then came a few kind of more light-hearted bits of the evening where, Spanish man living up this way, away from his family. He came to us from Reading and he disclosed that he's got, I think, 2 daughters, one of which is GCSE age at the moment. So he didn't want to move her, particularly while she's in the midst of her exams. So he's up here on his own. And he's received a warm welcome, he says, throughout the city and wherever he goes. But Alex Burgess then asked him if he'd tried many like local Hull traditions or Hull delicacies as well. One of which was a patty. Didn't know what that was. And the other one was chip spice, which Alex Burgess then made him try live on stage in front of 300 people. This is, an athletic Spanish man. He's not going to have eaten many chips in his life, I don't think. But yeah, he clearly didn't like chip spice whatsoever.
No chips, just plenty of patatas bravas.
Yeah, but I don't think chip spice would work on that either, to be honest.
Well,
But he decided to he decided to sort of chew it down, and then halfway through ask somebody at the bar if they could bring him a Coke. And then when he said, "And how did you find that?" and he just went, "It was nice." Okay. So yeah, so it was he took it all in the spirit it was intended, and it was good. It was nice to hear from him. He does sound pretty firm but fair from what he was talking about in terms of his training. Says that he likes to explain the why before they get to the actual what they're going to do, and sort of give people the reason first, because that's, he wants the buy-in, which is completely understandable. I get the impression again from Walter's regime, it was, you're doing this multiple times a day, don't come back to me until you've done it all. He also was, somebody asked him in the crowd, actually, obviously there was crowd questions. Somebody asked him which his hardest position to coach was, and his favourite position to coach was. Cue all the immature adults sniggering at said question. But he said the goalkeeper, because he's not a goalkeeper. That's why he's got a goalkeeping coach. See, this is a smart man. This is why he's in charge. But again, as I alluded to earlier, for an attacking-minded coach, I found it interesting that he said that his favourite position to coach was centre-back. Because, again, of believing that that's where the sort of the foundations of the team lie, making sure that they're switched on defensively and then getting the ball out to get the ball to the attackers, which I thought was good. Considering that we are halfway up the shit creek without possibly both paddles at this point in time, it has made me feel a little bit better about sort of the situation. We're not obviously completely down or anything yet, but he does seem like he's got a plan, which I guess was probably the point of the evening. But yeah, I'll finish the little segment on this with possibly the best and worst question. He's come to Hull. He's been asked about how he finds the people. Clearly didn't say what most people would probably say in terms of the level of intelligence of some football fans, not just Hull fans. When one of the final questions of the evening was, "So Ruben, paella or roast beef?" Yeah. But what I did quite like was his answer was, "I think you'll find it's paella." I was like, "Correct him. Go on, lad."
Lovely stuff. Yeah, always nice to sort of like get the sort of the inside, almost like inside the dressing room sort of thing and stuff like that. So yeah, always nice to get little updates here and there. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a nice little bow to put on this week's festivities. Like we said, sadly, no weekend football for any of us. Sad times. We just have to stare blankly into the abyss and just think of what we could have won. But never mind, I'm sure there's other stuff we can be doing with our lives. Obviously, thank you, as always, to these two gentlemen for joining me to go through the details of their team and, just sharing the misery of it all. If this is your first time around here, either watching or listening to the show, obviously, thank you for taking the time to have us in your lives. If you are new here, maybe think about subscribing to the channel, getting those downloads in automatically, so you don't have to think about when the next episode of the Cookie Cast football podcast comes your way. If you like football, then obviously you're covered, but we've also got the American football podcast that comes to you weekly. There's the guys over at the Straight to the Apex, the Formula One podcast, that comes out weekly as well. We do a monthly wrestling roundup show. We've literally just had the Royal Rumble, so next month we'll obviously go through the details of who got the predictions right for that the most, and we'll look forward to the next pay-per-view that's on the horizon. And then of course, Mr. Cook, once a week, he likes to pour forth everything in that brain of his with the Darkest Timeline podcast. All well worth a listen. I'm sure you will agree. Join us all next week, where we will go through the 3 games we just predicted, and we'll look forward to the following set of fixtures for each of our teams. Until then, take care of yourselves, keep an eye out for each other, and we will see you next week. Tatty bye for now.
So there you go, what do you think of that? Another one done, another one gone. Set of games in the bag, set of games to look forward to. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before you leave us, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.